So we have a question here from one of our brothers, and he is saying that when he's praying, sometimes the only time that he remembers properly, having concentration and focus, remembering Allah, is at the end of the prayer. And he's feeling very bad about it. And how to make this situation to become better. How to ask for forgiveness and how to prevent it from being that way. Asking if the prayer is counting for something. In tariqat, when we are following shaykhs, when we are concentrating on the spiritual value of our actions, the sincerity will make us to understand that a lot of the actions that we are doing, either they are not worthy for service to divine presence, or the actions that we are doing, it is in ghaflat. So we are not relying on the actions. We are not relying on our worship. We are relying on the intention, and we're relying on the shafaat of the Prophet ﷺ. We're relying on the intercession, and we're relying on the prayers of the Prophet, of his inheritors, of our sheikhs, to help us. Because if you enter into tariqat, you understand now the weakness. You understand your own weakness. You understand how strong your ego is, and how your ego is going to poison everything. I'm not going to talk about, oh, that is a low step, there's a low level, and you're going to move higher to higher. No. We're not concerned about higher stations. We're concerned about getting off the ground properly. Yeah, everyone is at kindergarten level. We still want to have the foundation to be really good. So, it is normal. I'm not saying it is good, but it is normal. When you're praying and you sing Allahu Akbar, it is not taking you to a mi'raj. But the prayer of a believer is supposed to be a mi'raj. How did Holy Prophet ﷺ go on the mi'raj? How did he make the mi'raj? How did he make the Isra and the mi'raj? He rode on the Burak, didn't he? So to make the mi'raj, he rode on the Burak. And what did Shah Effendi say about what our Burak is? What is our Burak? Our ego, our nafs. Now, in order to make that prayer to be a mi'raj, we have to ride on our ego, on our nafs. But the problem also is, if you are thinking, we are just talking about general zikr earlier, correct? And how to live Islamic life, how to get a taste of it. Sit properly, be still a little bit. When the sohbat is going on, the proper adab, try to be still as much as you can. 24 hours, 7 days a week, you are outside, you can move as much as you can. That's why the Dergah is here to teach. Because this is also the sunnah of the Sahaba Kiram. When they are listening to the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ, they don't move. There are different things that are coming down, different things that you understand and things that you don't understand. Maybe the angels are passing at that time. Definitely the prophets are coming, the sheikhs are coming, and they're looking at your manners. They're looking at your manners. And if you have proper manners, they bless you that time. It's better than you worshipping or doing so many things, because you already got the blessing. Okay, this is just a reminder for you and for me, for everyone. You have to learn. The Dergah is not a place where you're going to come and I'm just going to stroke your ego and going to say, very good, my babies, and then go back. If we see something that is not good, we're here to learn. You learn from the mistakes that you do. So now, The ego is our burak. The prayer is a time of the Miraj. The prayer is not the time where you're going to step on your ego. Do you understand? The Dergah, it is a place where you are going to train how to live an Islamic life. Maybe a couple of hours a month, a few hours. You cannot say this one day or 12 hours. You're just coming in, praying and eating and listening to sohbat and going to sleep. You can do that anywhere, isn't it? There's something else that is happening. There has to be activities. There has to be, when you're listening to the sohbat and you're doing the work and you start to apply it directly to the work. 1300 years, that's what the Muslims were doing. They were applying directly the knowledge of Islam into their lives. That's why it is blessed. There is no separation between religion and your life. Your life is your religion. Religion is life, which is called a deen. It is a lifestyle. A religion is not something extra that you put into your life. So, the important thing now is that if we are not preparing, then when the time comes, we're rushing to prepare, it's not going to work because there's not the time for preparation, you're going to fail. You have to train. When the time it comes for you to fight, you cannot train anymore. You have to fight. You start training, you will fail. If you're not training your ego, if you're not riding your burak outside of prayer, if you're not watching yourself, you're not understanding, you're not catching yourself, especially your thoughts now, isn't it? How many million times we say tafakkur? What is tafakkur? To think. You ever tried that? You understand how difficult it is? Just for 5 minutes, just to remember strictly, what did you do today for the sake of Allah? What you didn't do for the sake of Allah? To think, to go back. Try doing that for 5 minutes and you'll see your mind moving in so many different directions, isn't it? And you're just thinking about your life. You're not thinking about Allah. So, if the murid, which we're supposed to do, you are doing this, then the prayer that time you'll be able to focus on something is not going to knock you wall to wall. At least you're going to hold on to something. So the remembrance of Allah, the focus of your prayer, in your prayer, that has to work, that has to function, you have to do that outside of prayer. So that when you come to the prayer, you're just riding it. You're not training your burak anymore, you're just riding it. Because you're already doing that outside of prayer. You're applying, you're thinking, you're making a zikr, you are making some focus in your life that you are doing and you're not separating it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when the time comes when you're praying, there's no fighting anymore. There should not be. Because the movements that you're doing are the movements of angels, they're not the movements of your ego. The work that we're doing is the movements of animals outside. Outside of prayer is the movement of animals. We eat, we sleep, we do other things. It is the movement and the behavior of the animal side. But when you're standing up and you're saying Allahu Akbar, when you're doing ruku, these are not movements of animals, these are movements of angels and of prophets. So that time, the mu'min is free. He is released. And when he is released, he goes and he rides on his burak and he goes somewhere. He will train his burak to go somewhere where it is haq, where it is good. If you're not training your burak, that time you say Allahu Akbar, your burak is riding you and is taking you somewhere. What are we doing here? We're preparing ourselves, we're training ourselves for the appearances of Mahdi alayhi salam, isn't it? For what? For our Shaykh to come back. So every small thing, it counts. You being on time, it counts. You sitting properly, it counts. Listening properly, it counts. Especially when you are here at the Dergah, you're coming just for a couple of hours, but if you're not taking it seriously, it'll be wasted. Maybe you're not required to train for years and years and years, only for a couple of hours. But they're looking at where your heart is. If in that couple of hours you cannot just hold yourself tightly, then what good are we? So right now that we've talked before, Rajab is going to enter in a few weeks. This is preparation for Rajab. Rajab is preparation now. And Rajab is what? Ragaib and Mi'raj. Isn't it? One is coming down, the other one is going up. Is the transfer of the Prophet ﷺ's nur to his mother's womb. So it comes to earth. It's planted before it was with the father. And Miraj is when the light of the Prophet ﷺ now, it goes, it is released. And right in the middle of Shaban, it concerns us, in the middle of Shaban. And the Shaban is the month of the Prophet. Right in the center of the month of the Prophet, it is the Ummah. It is our Barat. And Rajab is in preparation for Shaban. And Shaban, after you've prepared and you've passed your Barat, you feel clean and good and pure, and you enter into Ramadan, your spirit is free. If you are not preparing and suddenly you want to train and prepare for Ramadan during Ramadan, that's why it's going to become a heavy, crushing burden to you. We are not other faiths, other traditions that says, oh, before holy months enter, before you fast, let's do every kind of dirtiness, let's do every kind of nafsani action, let's do every kind of animal action, because later we're going to fast. You understand? Other religions, they are doing that. They're going to enter into holy days. They say, oh, we're not going to eat meat for 40 days, so let's have a festival of meat. What is festival of meat? Carnival. Carnival means festival of meat, where they do every sort of egoistic action, wild action. They do everything. They drink, they do everything. Then later they say, okay, because tomorrow we have to fast, so they stop everything. You're tired. You already let your ego to do as much as it wants. Then you start worshipping. We're understanding as Muslims how weird that sounds. Can you imagine before we enter into Ramadan, you're going to go through every kind of dirtiness, then you enter, then what's the use? So everything that we're doing now is in preparation for something. You are praying, prepare for the prayer. Enter into the prayer properly. Forget about entering into the prayer. Majority of the Muslims, they hate the prayer. They say it's such an inconvenience. They enter like thieves and they leave like thieves. Quickly, they're doing it as if it's burning them. They enter into the Jummah in the Jami. Quickly, last minute, they come in. Quickly, they pray and they go out as if it's burning them. It's supposed to be the house of Allah. It is Jannat, but they turn it into a Jahannam. If the Imam speaks a little bit longer, they get very upset. Of course, I don't blame them too much these days also, because the Imams are up there on the mimbar, and they're only asking for money non-stop, continuously, especially in this country. Using that maqam of the Prophet ﷺ to make business for dunya. Not giving them anything for their spirit. That this world that we're living now in Akhir Zaman is draining your spirit, is emptying you out. So you come to masjids to get filled. Masjids is not giving you that. No wonder they are leaving. But there are places where they're giving you that, and murids are being spoiled with that. Be careful. If we are not holding on to what is supposed to be ours, Allah will select those ones, will pick those ones that are much better than us. At the last minute, we're going to get knocked out and new ones are going to take over. The Shaykh and his warning over and over again, he has said this. I'm looking to myself. We should look to ourselves. We are not indispensable. Every one of us, we're replaceable. if we're not holding on to that value that Allah has given us, if we cannot carry the responsibility, Allah will create a new race, a new people that is going to carry it better than us. So, what we're doing now is preparation, nothing else. If we are prepared, when the time comes, it'll be easy. Right now we're preparing for the events that are going to come. Our life is preparation for death. Our life is preparation for the hereafter. If we know that, then that time we are not going to be caught off guard. We're going to know what to do. Is your prayer going to be accepted? Allah is going to decide that. I'm not going to tell you, but let me tell you something. We should all just ask ourselves, the prayer that we make, is it worth for divine presence? No, of course not. So we say astaghfirullah, which is why in the Nakshibendi way it is a sunnat. Every time you finish your prayer, you say astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. 100 times you are saying it. And you're saying astaghfirullah for the mistakes that you have done in your prayer, not outside. So that is another thing that you're going to, another protection of your prayer. And we're praying, and then we ask Allah, for the sake of the holy ones, accept our prayer, accept our service, accept our ibadat. Put that into their account. Like what Shaykh Effendi says, you're buying rice, not in America, in other countries. Even now, you buy rice, you buy 1 kilogram of rice, you get small stones and small pebbles and small other things. In that, it's counted with that 1 kilogram of rice. So the awliya Allah, our shaykhs, their worship is like that rice. Our worship is like that pieces of stones. But because we are with them, it is counted together with them. It is counted for something. This is not being just, it is not being humbled. It is being sincere. It is being real. So if we are not training ourselves to have that kind of concentration, khushu, outside of prayer, how are we going to have it inside of prayer? Suddenly it's going to come like that. 24 hours our mind is racing. Suddenly you say Allahu Akbar, everything is supposed to be shut down. Impossible. You don't train anything for the whole year. Suddenly you say, okay, now I'm going to fight. You can do that? Impossible. No matter how good you are, no matter how good you are a fighter, you stop fighting for some time, your performance level goes down. So if we are not fighting against our ego, how that time when we are in front, we take the takbir, we are able to fight our ego then that time. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent the mercy to us, and the mercy to us reaching is our Shaykh. He is our Imam, here and hereafter. We follow. And alhamdulillah, in the Hanafi mazhab, you follow your Imam. The Imam is going to lead the Jamaat. You're not responsible. The Imam is responsible. You understand? So always make him to be your Imam. At time, he can cover it a little bit. But think carefully. If you're not going to train yourself, when the time comes, even if you say medet is not magic. Even if you say medet, it's not going to help you so much. But if you take one step, they will take 10 steps to you. As much is enough. Wa min Allahu tawfiq al-Fatiha. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If you have questions, you can ask. Bring some tea.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. There is civil war in my country. What do I have to do? Should I run away to another country?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Understood, madad. May Allah make it easy for you. May Allah not test us. If there is civil war in your country, whenever there is a conflict, it is also a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to emigrate. So emigrate. I'm not saying run or do this. I'm saying follow the sunnah of our Prophet. Emigrate, go and find shelter somewhere and protection. It is better. And we are ordered by the Holy Prophet ﷺ, even in areas and countries where there is no civil war, to emigrate. And we've made that, alhamdulillah. Some of us, we've emigrated from the populated areas to less populated areas to on top of the mountains. The whole idea is, whether it's a civil war or not, there is going to be confusion, corruption, violence, so many evil kinds of things happening. And when you see that kind of evil things happening at such a high level and you are trying to protect yourself and your family, follow the way of the Prophet ﷺ and emigrate. That's what we are doing on top of a mountain, to live simple. It is a matter of survival. It is not a matter of having a lifestyle choice or, trying to be, very high class by living life organically, living life that is so clean and pure. No, it is a matter of survival. But comes with it too is a natural lifestyle. That comes with it too, we're going to plant things that we're going to eat. We're going to raise meat that we're going to consume. We are going to work to the land, on the land that is going to make us to become healthy. We're going to wake up and sleep with the rhythm of the day. And that makes us to become better physically, emotionally, spiritually. Inshallah. Ya Allah, make it easy, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. How can we increase our obedience?